Silver, our buddy San Francisco Chronicle, and always every week here on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Mike, what do you think about that idea? Is that actually something you think could happen? An 8 seed just get thrown into this?
I mean, I'm open to any and all.
I'm open to any and all. That's all we got.
That's it.
Which we can take a lot from that.
Yeah.
He's open to anything, which I think is a wonderful thing to say.
We can keep that cut for all questions directed at Mike Silver
exactly.
Going forward.
Exactly.
What do you think about
How do you feel about rooting for Stanford, Mike?
I'm open to any and all. That's actually great. That's pretty funny.
Oh, God. Hey, we'll get Mike back. He's cruising around. But I don't know. Like, all of these ideas that get thrown out, I sort of immediately like, there are things I like and things I don't like.
Well, think about it in terms of if you went to 8 teams in both sides. So now you got 3 Saturday, 3 Sunday, and 2 Monday playoff games in that opening weekend because you're going to need 8 games. Right now you got 7 games. Yeah. You go 3-3-1.
I don't know that you have to make it on Monday. I don't know what they would do.
I think you'd have. I mean, you wouldn't want to play any playoff games at the same time as other playoff games. So as it is now with the 7. You got a triple-header Saturday, triple-header Sunday, and a standalone Monday. You'd have to go to a double-header Monday and have somebody play like a matinee. It'd be like the baseball playoffs.
I wonder what they do. Let's get Mike back into the conversation. Go ahead, Mike. You were saying about the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get too worked up about any of this stuff. It's interesting, and it will change the way we thought it was going to be. But it's just, I feel like when real life things happen, people start hyperventilating and they're thinking about the team they like and, they would have gotten this seed or that seed. Like, at some point, they're going to have a tournament. They're going to play games. There's going to be a champion. We've seen, obviously, with COVID, we've seen a lot of changes on the fly. And I remember in 2001, after September 11th, when the league wanted to keep playing until the players, who, as always, were the adults in the room, pressed pause. And there was no 1 week or 2 week break before between the championship games and the Super Bowl that year, so they did not have a built-in cushion as they do this year. And the conclusion was, well, we're just going to only have 4 playoff teams and do away with the wild card round, which seemed extreme at the time. And I remember talking to Amy Trask, who was then the chief executive of the Raiders, and we were kind of just hypothetically problem solving. And I said, why don't you just move the Super Bowl back a week? And she goes, oh, you don't understand the logistics. There's hotel rooms. This stuff is years in the making. And besides, we looked into that, and there's a car convention, this car dealer convention, and they've got all the rooms that next weekend. And I go, hey, I've got an idea. You're the NFL. Pay off the car dealers. And ultimately, that's what happened, which I think was probably made the most sense. But, I mean, there's always a way to problem solve this stuff, and it's not going to be perfect, and you're going to live in a world of, well, what if that game had been played and the Bengals would have been this, or the Ravens could have won the division, or this team wouldn't even have made the playoffs if that happened. It's going to be different. Like, okay, so people are still going to watch, and it's not. I don't think we should fixate on it in anything other than an entertaining way.
It's very entertaining, and so many different hypotheticals, including one possible scenario that was thrown out where the number 1 seed would get a choice of either a bye or home field advantage throughout. If you were going to devise the best way going forward, assuming that they're not going to play the Bengals and Bills game, how would you devise, Mike, the way to go forward from here?
It sounds like a reality show. I don't know. It's all interesting to me. I'm open to any of it, right? So you could do anything from, okay, that game never happened. We're doing the winning percentage thing that we were prepared to do in the COVID year or COVID years. You could do that and just say, it is what it is. You could try to workshop ways to get, to have that game either played. You could play that game that, in week 19, essentially, and then, do the NFC playoffs that week and then have them take a week off and have the AFC do it. You have that built-in cushion because of the Super Bowl. But, I don't know that there's a perfect way to do it. I think, other than getting a time machine, it's not going to be clean. So just have fun with it and do what you think seems the fairest. But, I would urge all fans who see everything through the prism of fandom, not to freak out if it didn't go perfectly for the team you love. Like, life happens.
Well, let's talk about the team that most of our listeners love, the 49ers, and what you think is best for them. I know Kyle Shanahan has said, look, we're going for the 1 seed. And maybe it is that simplistic. You want the 1 seed. But us fans are sitting here looking at potential matchups. 1 seed, you host all games. Your likely opponents are probably either the Giants or the Cowboys, followed by the Eagles. If you're the 2 seed, you might get the Packers and then the Giants that have to travel to Philly. The 3 seed, maybe you're avoiding Green Bay.
Yeah, you guys are freaking out too much. First of all, I think the Niners are the best team in the NFC. They should be able to win anywhere if they're at their best and their guys are healthy. Secondly, you're completely discounting the possibility of Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, who have Kaiser Soze qualities, somehow coming back to Levi's and throat slashing in a metaphoric sense and ruining the whole thing. And I do not discount that possibility, though the Bucs have looked awful and the Packers looked awful for most of the year, and the Niners have had their way with Rodgers recently in the playoffs or for a while. But you know what? If I'm the Niners, I'm feeling more comfortable against Kirk Cousins or Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott than I am against Brady or Rodgers. That's just me.
How much do you think they're going to push on Sunday against Arizona? Will it be determined on how Philadelphia is doing and determined on what Minnesota has done in the earlier game?
Maybe. If Minnesota loses and you can kind of scoreboard gaze and see that Philly is, ahead by a decent amount, maybe you start pulling guys. It's that weird balancing act. Kyle Shanahan really believes strongly that there's a risk in players pulling back and not, being sharp heading into the playoffs, which, by the way, if you get a 1, that's a week off. Or there's another scenario I just mentioned where there's a week off in the middle somehow. So you control what you can control. I think if it's anyone who has any pre-existing injury that you think could get worse, you err on the side of probably not playing those people, but otherwise you go. Now, the good news is this is a Cardinals team that should have the cars running in the parking lot. I mean, if ever a team would appear to be checked out, it's this team. Now, I know the Jaguars, who could have been checked out last year, crushed the Colts, who needed to go to the playoffs, so it's not a perfect science, but I'm not expecting, a situation where the 49ers are super stressed, but, we'll see. And if the Vikings win, then I think you got to win, because the difference between going to Minnesota for week 2, albeit, or for that next round, albeit in a dome, versus having the Vikings come here, I think there's an appreciable difference, in terms of what Kyle would want. So I think they're playing to win. I think they'll deal with the hand that's dealt with to them. And I think if they're at full strength, barring, as I said, a Brady or Rodgers, crazy rising up moment, I think they should be in great position in the NFC.
Mike, I got something for you, and I don't even know how this works. Do you vote for NFL Coach of the Year?
I tell you what, I have no vote for anything. It's one of the weirdest anomalies in NFL media. Nobody wants me to vote for a thing. I am writing a column today concerning my feelings on who should be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I'll go ahead
and take a preview right here. I'll
tell you mine right now. I think Coach of the Year around all sports focuses too much on the team that we thought was going to stink that actually achieved sort of kind of okayness. So this idea that we're moving off of Sirianni to go to Dable instead of the guy who's won 9 straight with 3 different quarterbacks, what the hell, man? Kyle Shanahan's totally the Coach of the Year.
Well, I don't know who's moving off what. I think Twitter's moving off, right? We don't really know how it's going to go, or the odds makers, whatever. I hear you. I've thought that for a long time, that it's too much of a, hey, you did better than expected award. On the other hand, we can't change that, and I don't discount that either. Like, I think Brian Daboll, I have no idea how that team won more than 4 games, and honestly, a lot of people in that building share that belief. Coaches, personnel people, players, they don't get it. So I think Brian Daboll is an A+ candidate. I think Kevin O'Connell, who has won an NFL record 11 one-score games, has to be in that conversation. Sirianni, you mentioned, obviously. I think Doug Peterson, pending the result of Sunday night's game, given the wreckage that was Urban Meyer and a potential division championship, is also in that conversation. I have some pretty strong feelings about the job Kyle has done. I will let people read about them in the Chronicle tomorrow, but it is an extraordinary situation when you have to play three quarterbacks, among other things.
Mike Tomlin as well. Yeah. Don't sleep on what he's done in Pittsburgh.
Mike Tomlin's just
it's Tomlin.
Everyone's writing them off, and he's about to extend their streak of winning records.
Yeah, how do you go 16 years of the NFL without a losing season? And it's not like, hey, they had Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Like, Ben's great, but it's crazy what he's done, and they're going to do it again. It's crazy.
Mike, great stuff, man. Great to connect with you again. We appreciate it always.
Thanks, you guys.